Right now, we welcome to the program Representative Rob Andrews, who represents the 1st Congressional District in New Jersey, Democrat, and joins us and rejoins us, I should say. Welcome back. Thanks for being here this morning.
Good morning, Tim.
First, the sequestration. I want to ask the question, do you know specifically, I know the White House had a conference call, I was actually on it Sunday, concerning the states. How does it affect the state, specifically your district?
I think we'll have several thousand furloughs of federal workers. We'll have several hundred companies that have cuts in contracts they have with federal agencies. We'll have delays in transportation construction contracts. I think this is something, as it goes forward, is going to hurt more and more people. It's just not going to be a sudden impact on March 1st. Mm-hmm. But as the time goes on, you'll find a lot of furloughed people, a lot of businesses with cash flow problems, and a lot of trouble. I'm
guessing you're aware of the story that's front page New York Times, USA Today, and a couple other places about the release of immigrants that supposedly are being tied to cuts. Immigration officials releasing detainees from detention centers to save money as the automatic budget cuts come closer. And I guess if you're not familiar with it, we can pass on the question. But I'm just kind of curious if you know why it would happen now before these cuts even supposedly take place.
I don't think it should happen at all. I think that the proper prioritization there would be to do everything possible to avoid releasing any person who's incarcerated. So I think that was a mistaken judgment that should be fixed.
Okay. Is that even possible? I was under the impression that it's so inflexible. These budget cuts are so inflexible that you don't have any leeway to do anything.
I don't believe it's impossible. But there's a line item with salary and wages for the people who hold these suspects or whatever they are in custody.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And there are ways you can rearrange a budget to make sure you can do this. And I just think it's an unwise judgment to do that. I would not support that.
Good enough. Now, we are looking forward to this Friday deadline. It sounds like right now not much is going to happen. There's two measures that are coming up in the Senate, and I guess there's not going to be anything from the House, right? I mean, even though the last Congress, there were a couple of bills, but that Congress is no longer in effect. So this Congress, the House has not put forth legislation yet. The Speaker said he wants something from the Senate. Democrats and Republicans are each putting a bill up, and then they'll have some kind of a vote. It's not expected that they'll pass. So where does that leave the Congress?
The House Democrats have put forward a plan, and we think it should be put up for a vote. Our plan would postpone the sequester for at least 10 months. It would replace the sequester savings with equal revenues and savings. It would keep us on the path of deficit reduction. I believe a majority of the House would vote for our plan, but the Speaker won't put it up for a vote, which I think is unconscionable.
Is this one from Adam Smith that's supposedly being proposed, or is this a different one?
No. This is from Chris Van Hollen and the Budget Committee Democrats that does three things. It stops the job cuts. It keeps the sequester savings in place by having cuts to agricultural subsidies for big agribusinesses, subsidies to large oil companies, and it does the so-called Buffett rule, which says a person making more than $2 million a year can't pay a rate lower than 30%, can't exploit different loopholes. That pushes it back. I believe if we put that bill on the floor, it would get a majority of the House to vote for it. Okay. Now, let me use an example of what I think will eventually happen here.
Okay.
The pain will start to spread after March 1st, slowly, but it will start to spread. Members will confront this reality at home and need to have an answer. And the answer will be some compromise, like I just outlined, will first pass the Senate. It will then come to the House. The House will refuse to take it up. The House Republicans will, as they characteristically do. The pressure will build, they will cave, and we will pass such an extension. And I would offer as my evidence for this the Violence Against Women's Act, which is happening today.
Mm-hmm.
The House Republicans refused to put this up for a vote for a couple of years here. And finally, the Senate broke through. I think 78 senators voted for a bipartisan compromise. The House refused to take it up. Their original plan this week was to put a Republican bill on the floor which excludes a lot of women and other victims of domestic violence. It wouldn't have passed. So they finally buckled last night, and tomorrow we'll be voting on the Senate version of this bill and pass it, and the President will probably sign it next week.
And there's also going to be a vote on the amendment, right, which is expected to fail. Is that correct?
Here's what will happen. The Republican approach will be put up. It will fail.
Okay.
And then the Senate bill will be put up, and it will pass. And this is what's going to happen with the sequester. It's just very unfortunate for a lot of people, a lot of workers, a lot of businesses, for the American economy. We're going to have to go through this charade till we get to that point.
Mm-hmm. How much is this building towards the 27th? I think it's the 27th, right, when the CR, the continuing resolution, is set to expire, and there have to be more decisions made about budgeting?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it all comes to a head then. On the 27th, what happens is all the funding for all the government departments stops. So it's sort of the mother of all sequesters, right? It holds back all the money. So I think you're going to find it come to a head around that time. I just think it's very unfortunate that there are FBI agents and Border Patrol agents and people small businesses that have contracts with federal installations and hospitals and universities. They have to go through a lot of angst and a lot of trouble between here and there. Well, the problem here is I think 60% of members of Congress, 65, are ready to compromise on these things in both parties. There is a hardcore in the House Republican Conference that doesn't want to govern, doesn't want to compromise, doesn't want to go forward. And this is the fourth or fifth time we've been through this process.
Do you think that the president's approach of going out on the road or going direct to people as opposed to sitting in rooms with members of the House is better, or would he be more effective doing some more sort of outreach, even quietly behind closed doors?
It is better. The House Republicans have proven to the president and to the country repeatedly they're not capable of reaching a deal because of their internal divisions. There's a division within the House Republican Conference between the people who want to govern and compromise and the people who don't. So you can't negotiate.
But if they're that intransigent specifically on principle, then what makes you think they're going to cave at any point, especially because more or less their districts are not in favor of the president anyway?
Because eventually there are enough Republicans that face reality problems at home, and they go to the leadership and say, listen, you got to put a bill on the floor, even if it doesn't get a majority of our majority, you got to do something. Mm-hmm. This is what happened with the Social Security payroll tax cut extension about 18 months ago. It happened with the fiscal cliff tax bill the first of the year. It happened with the Sandy relief bill for the supplemental a couple days later. It happened with the Violence Against Women's Act. It's going to happen with the sequester. That's the way it works.
That's the way it's going to happen. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, real quick, so what do you think about Governor Christie, number one, approving Medicaid in your state and also online gambling?
I agree with both decisions. The Medicaid expansion is going to provide quality health care to nearly 1 million New Jerseyans, largely funded by the federal budget. It was the right decision. I applaud it. And Internet gambling is happening. The question is whether it's going to happen in a way that is regulated and raises revenue for the states or whether it doesn't. So I think I agree with both of those decisions.
Does that hurt Atlantic City?
No, I think it'll help Atlantic City because it'll be a part of the experience that they can offer there.
Really? Okay. Well, we all need to gamble a little bit more, obviously. So
no, I don't think that's the case. We need to legislate a little more here in the House of Representatives and avoid this sequester. The House Republicans should let us take a vote.
All right. Representative Rob Andrews, thank you for joining us this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim.